Have you ever stopped to think that the most dangerous deception in today's world might be the one we tell ourselves every day? The belief that we don't need anyone, that we're fully capable of navigating life on our own. It's a comforting idea, isn't it? The thought that we are self-sufficient, that we hold all the answers, that we control our destiny. But what if this isn't freedom at all? What if, instead of empowering us, this illusion of independence is quietly enslaving us? From the whispers of our culture to the inner voice that craves control, this belief tempts us to step into a role we were never meant to play. Today, we're going to dismantle this facade piece by piece through the lens of one of the greatest Christian thinkers of the modern era, C.S. Lewis. His reflections on pride, dependence, and divine sovereignty challenge us to reconsider what it truly means to live a fulfilled life. Stay with me as we uncover the traps hidden in self-sufficiency, the spiritual cost of attempting to be our own gods, and the liberating truth that lies in embracing a different path. Before we go any further, take a moment to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. Here we dive into deep and thought-provoking topics that challenge how we view faith, spirituality, and the world around us. By joining this community, you'll ensure you never miss a chance to reflect, grow, and engage with ideas that can transform your perspective. And while you're at it, leave a comment below sharing what you hope to take away from this discussion. We'd love to hear from you. The idea of self-sufficiency isn't new. It's as old as humanity itself. From the earliest moments in the Bible, we see this desire to be like God, as described in the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis. That temptation to seize control, to define good and evil on our own terms, has echoed throughout history, shaping civilizations and philosophies. Fast forward to today and the same narrative continues, only now it's amplified by modern culture. We are bombarded with messages glorifying independence. Follow your heart, be your own boss, you don't need anyone. These ideas resonate because they appeal to our deepest fears and desires, the fear of vulnerability and the craving for power. Yet, this obsession with autonomy comes at a cost. C.S. Lewis observed that the pursuit of self-sufficiency often blinds us to the reality of our dependence, not just on God, but on one another. In his work, Christianity Pure and Simple, he called pride the complete anti-God state of mind. Why? Because it's the mindset that says, I don't need you. And in a world where dependence is seen as weakness, how often do we push away the very relationships and spiritual connections that could bring us true peace? This mindset is especially relevant in today's fast-paced, hyper-individualistic society. As technology connects us virtually, it also isolates us emotionally. We celebrate personal achievements, but often overlook the spiritual emptiness that follows. And so the question becomes, is our quest for independence truly liberating us, or are we unknowingly creating our own prisons? Stay with me, because in the next sections, we'll explore how this all ties back to Lewis's profound insights and the timeless wisdom of Scripture. At the heart of this conversation lies a question. What does it mean to strive for self-sufficiency, and why is it so alluring? According to C.S. Lewis, this desire stems from pride, the belief that we can exist apart from God, that we can carve our own path without acknowledging the Creator. In Christianity Pure and Simple, he describes pride as the root of all sin, the force that blinds us to the truth of our limitations. It is not just an inflated sense of self, it is a rejection of the divine order, an insistence that we, not God, are in control. Take, for instance, the modern narrative of independence. We are told that relying on anyone, even God, is a sign of weakness. Yet this perspective clashes directly with biblical teachings. In John 15:5, Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me, and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. This imagery highlights the paradox of human strength. It is only in dependence on God that we find true power and purpose. Now consider how this plays out in everyday life. Our society often equates success with self-reliance. Achieving wealth, status, or recognition is seen as the ultimate goal, but as Lewis warns in The Great Divorce, these pursuits can leave us spiritually bankrupt. Imagine a person who has everything, career, influence, possessions, but feels an unshakable emptiness. This is the legacy of self-sufficiency. It promises fulfillment, but delivers isolation. Lewis further argues that self-sufficiency leads to idolatry, not in the traditional sense of worshipping statues, but in elevating ourselves to a godlike status. This is evident in the way we idolize control, success, and independence. As Jesus cautioned in Matthew 6:24, "No one can serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and money." When we prioritize our own desires above all else, we distance ourselves from the only source of true fulfillment. Finally, it's crucial to recognize that this issue isn't confined to individuals. It's a societal phenomenon. Our culture glorifies the self-made person, but this ideal overlooks the interconnectedness of humanity. Even our greatest achievements are built on the contributions of others, yet we often fail to acknowledge this. In trying to be our own gods, we not only harm our relationship with the divine, but also weaken our bonds with one another. The more we examine the nature of self-sufficiency, the clearer it becomes that it's a trap, a seemingly empowering idea that undermines our spiritual and emotional well-being. But recognizing this is just the beginning. In the next section, we'll dive deeper into the implications of this mindset and explore what it means for our lives, relationships, and faith journeys. Stay with me. What happens when we build our lives on the foundation of self-sufficiency? At first glance, it may seem empowering. We tell ourselves we're in control, that we don't need anyone else, and that we're capable of achieving anything on our own. But over time, cracks begin to show. The illusion of independence often leads to isolation, burnout, and a sense of emptiness that no accomplishment can fill. This is what C.S. Lewis called the deadly sin of pride, a subtle force that distorts our view of ourselves and others. Think about the small ways this mindset manifests in daily life. How often do we refuse help, even when we need it? How many times have we hesitated to admit a mistake or show vulnerability because it might make us appear weak? These moments may seem insignificant, but they reveal a deeper issue: our unwillingness to acknowledge our dependence on others and ultimately on God. Take, for example, the relationships in your life. When we operate from a place of self-sufficiency, we often push people away. We may think we're protecting ourselves, but in reality, we're building walls that keep love and connection at bay. This is where Lewis's insights become particularly poignant. He argued that true freedom and fulfillment come not from isolation, but from surrender, letting go of the need to control everything and trusting in God's sovereignty. The implications extend beyond personal relationships. On a societal level, the glorification of self-reliance has created cultures of competition rather than community. We measure success by individual achievements while neglecting the collective well-being. Yet, as the Bible teaches, we were never meant to walk this path alone. Galatians 6:2 reminds us to carry each other's burdens, and in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. Imagine for a moment what your life might look like if you embraced the opposite mindset. Instead of striving to be self-sufficient, what if you chose to lean into God's strength and the support of those around you? How might this shift change the way you approach challenges, relationships, and even your faith? The beauty of dependence is that it brings us closer to God, to others, and to the purpose we were created for. As we continue, we'll explore how this idea culminates in a profound realization: that true freedom isn't about independence, but about aligning ourselves with God's will. It's a journey that requires humility, but the rewards are eternal. Let's move forward and uncover what this means for each of us. When we step back and reflect, a profound truth emerges. The more we strive to be self-sufficient, the further we drift from the source of all strength and purpose, God. C.S. Lewis eloquently captured this in The Great Divorce, where he described hell not as a fiery pit, but as a state of perpetual isolation. In this condition, the soul clings to the illusion of independence, building walls that separate it from love, grace, and truth. The irony? What we think is freedom often becomes our greatest bondage. Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path is paved with the promises of the world: success, control, autonomy. The other leads to surrender, a relinquishing of self-will in favor of divine guidance. Which path feels more daunting? For many, letting go is terrifying. Yet, as Lewis reminds us, the act of surrender is where true liberation begins. It's in recognizing our limitations that we find the strength of God made perfect in our weakness. Consider this: every effort to control, every grasp at self-reliance is a weight we weren't designed to carry. Jesus' words in Matthew 11:28-30 resonate deeply here. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." This is the invitation, not to strive harder, but to trust more. So the question becomes, what are you holding on to that's keeping you from experiencing this rest? Is it pride, fear, the desire to prove something to yourself or others? Whatever it is, Lewis's writings and the scriptures echo the same call. Let it go. You weren't meant to be your own God, and the weight of that responsibility is too great for any human to bear. As we move toward the resolution, reflect on this. The greatest act of courage isn't taking control, it's relinquishing it. It's trusting that God's plans are higher, His ways better, and His love unfailing. Let this realization guide you into the next step of your journey. Stay with me as we bring these reflections to a close and explore what it means to live in this truth. As we bring everything together, one undeniable truth stands out. Self-sufficiency is not the strength we've been taught to admire. It's a fragile facade that keeps us disconnected from the ultimate source of life. C.S. Lewis described pride, the core of self-sufficiency, as the sin that turns us inward, away from God. Yet in that turning, we lose sight of who we truly are, not self-made beings, but creations intricately designed to rely on our Creator. Think about this for a moment. If dependence on God is a weakness, as the world often claims, why does it bring such profound peace when we embrace it? The reality is that surrender, far from being a loss, is an act of trust, a declaration that we believe in something greater than ourselves. It's here in this humility that we find the freedom to live without the crushing weight of being our own saviors. Now consider the ripple effects of this shift. What happens when we stop striving for control and start trusting God's plan? Relationships heal as we let go of the need to always be right. Fear fades as we realize we're not alone in our struggles. And life gains purpose, not because we've achieved perfection, but because we're aligned with something eternal. Here's the challenge I leave with you. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to be your own God? How would it change your priorities, your actions, and your faith? This isn't just a philosophical question, it's an invitation to transformation. The answer is waiting, not in more striving, but in a quiet surrender to the one who has been waiting for you all along. As we move to the final moments of our reflection, hold this thought close. You don't have to carry it all. The weight you've been holding? It was never yours to bear. Let's take one last step together as we embrace this liberating truth. As we've journeyed through this topic, one thing becomes clear. The call to let go of self-sufficiency isn't a burden. It's an invitation to freedom. Throughout this video, we've explored how the pursuit of independence often leads to isolation, and how surrender, instead of being a weakness, is actually the gateway to strength and purpose. C.S. Lewis's insights remind us that we were never designed to carry the weight of the world on our own shoulders. This is more than just a theological idea, it's a universal truth. At some point in life, we all face moments that reveal the limits of our control. It's in these moments that the beauty of dependence on God becomes apparent. The Creator of the universe offers us a partnership, not one where we are powerless, but one where our true potential is unlocked through His guidance. Now I ask you to reflect. What step can you take today to shift from striving to trusting? Maybe it's a prayer, a conversation, or simply acknowledging where you've been trying to take control. Whatever it is, know that you are not alone in this journey. You were never meant to be. Let this be the thought that carries you forward. Surrender isn't about losing. It's about finding rest, purpose, and the freedom to live as you were created to be. Let's hold on to this truth as we step into the final moments of our time together. If this message resonated with you, don't let it stop here. Take a moment to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss future discussions that challenge, inspire, and deepen your faith. Your engagement fuels this community, and together we can explore topics that truly matter. I'd love to hear from you. What stood out most from today's reflection? Do you see areas in your life where self-sufficiency might be holding you back? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. Also, consider sharing this video with someone you think could benefit from these insights. Maybe it's a friend, a family member, or someone struggling with the weight of trying to control everything on their own. Your act of sharing could be the spark they need to see things differently. Finally, if you're new here, check out some of our other videos. For instance, our exploration of the battle between pride and humility ties directly into today's topic. Click, watch, and continue growing with us. Thank you for being part of this journey, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.